Hello everybody, it's Genghis. I am here in my All Saints corner. I call it my All Saints corner because this is where I house all of my saints when I'm not working with them, but I still want to venerate them. So I have this whole corner dedicated to them. And I do keep this corner very, very green with a lot of plants. As a matter of fact, most of my altars have a lot of green, have a lot of plants, have a lot of things to bring like, good energy, and plants have a very good way to do that. So the other day I was texting back and forth with a friend. We were just kind of comparing the different plants that we have in our houses and stuff. And she had complimented me on this plant in particular. And one of the reasons why she was so drawn to that plant is because it's so full. Now, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to, the way a pothos looks. So sometimes I'll, look at some of these plant videos, kind of get tips here and there. And one thing that usually catches my eye is if a pothos in particular or a philodendron is either stringy or really, really full. What I see, and this is not me judging people because everybody has their thing, everybody has their preference on how they want their plants to look. I personally like my plants to look really, really full up top and then maybe have a few things kind of falling down, much like this plant. And this plant I've had for maybe about 2 years. And it did it started off pretty small. Like it was a store-bought one that I bought from the grocery store down the street, and it was probably about this size. Now this one I propagated myself. These two plants right here are probably the mommies that made up this one plant, but I propagated it myself. So basically I'll maintain this plant as it grows to make it have the shape that I want. And so there's two main ways I personally make sure that my plants end up in that shape is, so one thing that a lot of people don't realize about pothos is that a pothos, especially a plant like this, it's a plant that's made up of many different plants. Like each of these little legs are individual plants. It's like when I was, the video that I was showing on how to propagate a pothos, or like, sticking your cuttings in soil, all those cuttings are individual plants that you're sticking in soil to make one plant. So one way that you can kind of like maintain the fullness of plants like this is that as you're getting your cuttings and you're going along, you can plug more cuttings on the top of your soil to make it full. Because what's going to happen is, as this pothos is creating all these little legs, they're gonna tend to kind of grow a little further separated. Like I noticed the longer the legs and the older the plant, because I do have a lot of plants that are older, and as especially these stems get thicker, the leaves grow a little further apart, which causes a lot less density. So also another way, which brings me to my next point on how you can kind of make your plant a little bit more dense up top. So this plant, just today, I'm kind of treating it because it's growing really, really long legs, which is fine, but it's also, let me see. This actually right here is a good example of that. So let me see if you could see up top. So up top here, you can kind of see hold on. Okay. So how much, you see how much closer these leaves are to each other? But then as it goes down, the leaves are kind of getting a little bit more separate. So this is good. Like I like the way this strand is because of the density up top, and then it is growing longer, but not all of them are growing that way. And so the ones that are not growing that way, I want to grow that way. And the way that I force it to grow that way, like say I'll do this one. If I snip it up top, what's going to happen is the new growth, especially if it is a healthy plant, it'll grow dense like this up top. So basically I'm treating all the stems that are not dense enough for me into growing a lot more dense. And then over time, it'll create all its strings. Now, if you have a plant that is kind of sparse, you will temporarily sacrifice length for girth. But, in the long run, it's gonna look like a more attractive, more impressive plant. just in my eyes. I do like, again, like fuller plants than I do stringy plants, and pothos does have a tendency to become extremely stringy, especially the older it gets. And then with this plant in particular too, one of the reasons why it is becoming stringy is because the leaves are getting bigger and these stems are getting thicker, especially the ones up top there. And when it does that, like you get, instead of like a, say like this is a stem, instead of leaves that are this close apart, now I have leaves that are this close apart with a thicker stem. I do like how big, because I have leaves that are like this big on this one plant. I do like those, but at the same time, I don't like those because it's making my plant stringy. So you kind of have to sort of figure out like what's most important to you. I have chopped off some of the thicker stems just to kind of like get the plant to grow more dense, but I think what I'm going to go for as far as this plant is kind of mixture of both. I do want the larger leaves, but I also want the density. So there's definitely ways you can manipulate your plant into getting the shapes that you want. With that being said, I am going to shoot a video, and it's probably a project that I'm going to start working on tomorrow. Is I want to make like these pothos sort of towers. I have so many pothos now because of you know, the lockdown, and I keep propagating all these damn plants. I'm going to take some of my older plants that have sort of the longer legs, and I'm going to basically make a tree of my pothos, so it'll grow up nice, long, and tall. I will definitely record myself doing that just to give more people more ideas, since we're all fucking bored. Some of us unemployed, and we got a million plants. Why not? It'll give us all something to do, and at the same time, you know, it's nice to have to be stuck in a home on lockdown that makes you happy. And plants tend to, you know, make your environment a lot more warm. I mean, they diffuse a lot of negative energy, so that is a benefit. Plus the fact that they clean the air, it's another benefit. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will get on the other video tomorrow. And if you like my videos, subscribe. I always have to remind myself to say the shit because it just reminds people to subscribe if you like my shit. And then click the bell if you want updates on more videos. And thank you so much for watching. See you soon.